Hey everybody, I'm Bob Lucido and we're back at the Bearcat Training Camp. Now the last time we were together, we were talking about achieving the Emerald rank, and one of the things that I suggested that you think about is signing up your spouse, significant other, close relative, whatever that may be, as one, at least, of those first two of your personally sponsored coaches. And so I just want to take a step aside today and cover some things relative to the signing of a spouse. And I'm going to call it signing of a spouse just so I have something to call it, but please keep in mind, spouse, significant other, close relative, brother, sister, boyfriend, girlfriend, whatever that might be for you. But keeping in mind the opportunity for you to do that, and of course also specifically speaking to signing a spouse if you have a spouse, okay? It's a very powerful opportunity that you want to make sure that you are taking advantage of. You don't want to let that opportunity go by, and you don't want to pull the trigger on it too late. And I hesitate in using the word too late because it's never too late. However, sooner is better than later. And that's what I mean in the sense of too late. Not that it's too late that you shouldn't do it, ever. That's never the case. But in the sense that sooner will be better for you. And here's the reason why. Here's you up top, and you are able to, as I said, sign your spouse in one of your first two spots, or whenever. And if you're already Emerald, or even if you're already Diamond and you haven't signed up your spouse yet, don't say, oh no, this isn't for me. It is for you, and the principles still apply. They apply to a greater degree the sooner you get this done, and this will make sense to you, or more sense to you, in a minute. Okay, but let me just, before I get into the details, put one more thing aside that I will come back to, and that is that a common question is, should I sign my spouse up on my strong side or my weak side? And let me answer that question by saying, first and foremost, that doesn't really matter. They both have value, and I'm going to talk about what the value is, and you can bring that into your own personal planning, but also keep in mind that sometimes weak side, strong side is not 100% predictable, even though you may have an upline that can help tell you, based on where you're placed, what's likely to be your strong side or your weak side, but that doesn't always carry on. I mean, I'm a great example of that. When I first came into the business, I signed up my wife on what I thought was my weak side, because I'm a believer actually in building through that strategy. And again, I'm going to explain that in more detail in a minute. However, within about 6 months, or at least the first year into my business, some fantastic rock stars came into my team over here underneath where I had signed my wife, and flipped the whole thing. And ever since then, that has now been my strong side. So although I'm a believer and even a teacher in the strategy of spouse on the weak side, I happen to be somebody with spouse on the strong side. And trust me, it's not a bad thing. Neither of them are bad, and I don't think either is necessarily even better than the other. They're just different, okay? And let's talk about that later, okay? Because it'll make more sense to you after I talk about, especially for those of us who don't yet even understand why you would want to bring your spouse into the business and get them placed as soon as possible. Let's cover that first, all right? Because here's what happens. Up here, remember in that Emerald video, we talked about your ability to earn as a coach through commissions based on your efforts, your sales of products, challenge packs, club memberships, whatever it might be. And then the second opportunity to earn income through the team cycle bonus, which comes once you hit Emerald and you have your team starting, you have your first two personally sponsored coaches. Well, that's now opened some other opportunities as well. And here's where it starts. If I have my spouse in one of these first two positions, or anywhere in my business, but I'm going to say now first two positions because we're talking about this as a strategy for building to Emerald first and foremost. Then a pretty cool thing happens. And that is that so long as I'm building as a household, and I hope you're all doing that, if you're building with your spouse, then you have now increased your opportunities to earn income, because whereas you were putting all your sales and retails and earning commissions through this site, once your spouse comes into the business, you can now direct all customer sales driving retail commissions to this site. Those same sales are going to not only pay out the commissions, which are coming into the household unit, they're also going to generate volume within the team to flow up as team volume, to have the potential to cycle, based on how we talked about that in the other video, how volume cycles coming up to your spot to give you a team cycle bonus payout in this spot, your top spot, from the same sale, the same volume. So you've given yourself, in essence, an opportunity to get a second bite at the apple. Okay? And first and foremost, right off the bat in the beginning, that's the most important thing to understand. If someone is advising you to think about bringing your spouse into the business as your first step towards Emerald, this is one of the reasons why. Okay? It right off the bat gives you that opportunity. I mean, first of all, it's giving you the first step to Emerald, so you can even take advantage of team cycle bonuses. And it's giving you this opportunity to start bringing in some more long-term strategies in how you're running your business. Now, here's what else it does. As this site, your spouse's site, grows, because once you're growing your organization, it will soon make sense for you to grow this business center as well. Once this business center is Emerald and is also now qualified to earn team cycle bonus payouts, watch what happens now. Volume that's generated down here, which is volume that's then generated under your spouse's site, but also under your site, is now going to have the potential to be cycled out by you more than once. Because the way that the volume flows in our compensation plan is the volume flows all the way up to here cumulatively, comes to your spouse's center. If your spouse can cycle it, they're Emerald, and if they have the balancing 200, 300 on their both legs, they will cycle this volume flowing up to them and get a team cycle bonus off of that volume. That very same volume will then collect whatever volume has been generated through purchases or sales in your spouse's business center, be added on to the cumulative collective of this volume that's flowing up, and will then flow up to your site, upon which you will also have the ability to earn a team cycle bonus. So long as, of course, all the other things are in place, you're Emerald, and you have the proper split with volume coming up over here. That's just going to determine how many times you're going to cycle, but you're going to have the opportunity to cycle. You can see how that can get pretty powerful. And if you're in this for the long haul, if you're in this with the plan to build any kind of a business, this has got to be part of your plan. Because if you're going to build a beautiful business, then you're depending on and intending to build a business that's going to generate a lot of volume on both of your legs. And no matter where your spouse gets placed, that business center is going to create a second opportunity for you to earn off of some of the same volume that you're already generating anyways. Okay? So that's the multiple bites at the apple idea. That can be extremely powerful, okay? So there's that, and I hope everybody's on board already because those are some really important pieces. Now let's talk about weak side, strong side. And let's say you can tell that, where your weak side or strong side is going to be. Here's the strategies relative to spouse placement. If your spouse is on your strong side, then the probability is that the strategy is going to be to build the spouse site to diamond so that you can get the maximum dollar amount of team cycle bonus, and we'll talk about that when we get to the diamond video. But at diamond you get $18 per cycle. That's the highest that you can get no matter what rank we are. So getting to that level is going to allow you to maximize your ability to earn off of the volume that's coming up to you. And if your spouse is strong side, then the probable strategy is going to be to build the spouse to diamond, but simply to hold diamond, because it's going to contribute a star. And you'll see that when we get to 2-star, 5-star, 10-star, we need to be balanced with where our diamonds are. And typically, one of the things that happens, if you do have the kind of team that's set up with a very strong side, very weak side, then the strong side is in an area where you're going to be doing a lot of sponsoring. You're going to sponsor enough people to hold your minimum places, because there's some minimums about what we have to have in terms of personally sponsored on each side to hold our ranks, and we'll get into that in more detail when we talk about the individual ranks. But for now, just understanding that there is a minimum, you won't want to go too far beyond that if you have a very large, strong leg. And the reason for that is that keeping in mind that 2-to-1 flow of the team cycle bonus, you have a super strong side that's covering your 2, then obviously your goal to increase your cycles is to be building weak side against that strong side to keep those 2-to-1 cycles going, okay? And so, again, that can be very important later on down the road, because one of the things that happens is you're not placing as many personally sponsored coaches in the strong side. If you start to lose diamonds, or if you don't have enough diamonds on that side to push you up to the next ranks, then you may run into issues in terms of your rank building. And that's where spouse on strong side can be helpful, because it can help you to maintain those minimum amount of diamonds, those minimum amount of stars on that strong leg, so that you can continue building. And of course, what you're doing there too, if this happens to be your strong side, this is my situation, this is a strong side, there's amazing amounts of volume flowing up to here, even though I'm not building over here anymore, because we always build weakest side, again, driving that 2-to-1, so we're driving cycles. My wife's site is, because she has her own profit leg, driving against this same massive amount of volume that's coming up that side. Okay, so again, certainly not a negative. However, here's the flip side of the coin, and the other strategy, the other option, should you have a choice, is spouse on weak side. That allows something that we call stacking, and I'm going to do a very detailed training later on stacking itself, but quite basically, stacking brings into play this principle that I was talking about before, and that is trying to get as many bites at the apple as possible on the same volume that you are working to generate within your team. And here's how that works. I talked a little bit about if wife or spouse, it could be husband, whatever it is, if spouse is on weak side, or either side, and you have the volume that flows up, it cycles out here and then it cycles out over here, so you're getting 2 cycles off of what is essentially the same volume, and that's obviously fantastic stuff. Here's another thing that can happen. If your strong week. And again, there's some other strategies in how you're going to put your business together, which we'll break down in other videos. But spouse on weak side assumes that you're building to have a very strong leg and a weak leg that's going to drive volume, to drive cycles against that strong leg, which is the situation that I'm in. Although my spouse isn't on that weak side, my other business centers are. And here's where we get to the meat of this conversation. Every time you get to 2-star diamond, you have the ability to open what is essentially a clone business center, another business center. And you get to place it wherever you want to place it in your business. So once I get to 2-star diamond, I get to open a clone where I can put anywhere I want. If I have my spouse on my weak side, guess what? I'm going to choose to put it on my weak side under my spouse's business center so that I can do a multiplier on that same concept that we talked about in the beginning of this video, and that is that all my retail sales now can go through this center down here, so that I earn my retail commissions, generating volume. That same volume is going to flow up and accumulate with everything else that's happening down here, come to my spouse's center, be potentially team cycle bonus payout for me, and then grab onto whatever other volume is generated here, flow then up to my top site, where I then have the potential for further team cycle bonus payouts, cycling what is essentially the same volume. And so I have increased my ability to take bites at that apple. And that can continue on, folks, as you continue to build. Because here's the cool thing. When I have this, my second business center, when that one is built to 2-star diamond, I'm allowed to open another clone of that one, and I can place it wherever I want. And if it is still weak strong, which ideally, in my opinion, is where you want to be building towards, for this, at least for this stacking principle to really work at its highest level, you can do it one more time. And you get to keep doing that. We are able, under our compensation plan, to own up to 25 business centers. And again, you don't get to open new ones until the latest one has reached 2-star or above, so that's quite an accomplishment to get there, but it's possible. I have 3, folks, and there are people in the business who have even built further on down the road. The concept here, or the idea here that I'm trying to share with you, is if you built from day one in a way where you are up top here and your spouse is up here too, either strong side or weak side, and again, depending on which strategy you're going to go for, and also please hear me that it doesn't quite matter in the beginning, because I'm telling you, you can't predict in the very beginning exactly which side's going to be strong, weak. And if you're building a great business, then you will do some flip-flopping. Because when you're bringing in rock stars and you're putting them on your weak side, you bring in a big enough rock star that's going to really drive success, then let's hope that they drive such big success that they turn your weak side into your strong side, okay? And we don't really care, in my opinion, where the spouse got, as long as they ended up somewhere up here on top, so that at some level we're able to take advantage of some of that stacking, okay? And again, in an ideal world, you've got this super strong leg that just kind of maintains and continues on its own, and then your weak leg is your spouse on top, and then your multiple business centers stacked, always weakest spot, to drive volume that will have the potential to be cycled out through the team cycle bonus multiple times. And that's where you really start generating some ability to increase your income generation, but in ways that are not based on trading hours for dollars, that are not based solely on efforts that you yourself are bringing to the table, but now you are leveraging the real power of what this business opportunity is, because you are now focusing on and leveraging in the field of income generation the team, okay, the organization, something beyond yourself. And it starts right away, folks, when you very first start beginning your business, right away at that emerald level. And really what this video is sort of step 2 on the how to get to emerald video, with a focus on why you really ought to make sure you're thinking about making it your spouse that's going to be one of those first 2 people that you open the doors with as you bring yourself to the emerald rank. So I hope that makes sense to you. I hope that it is helpful to you as you begin to put your own organization together and start to think long term about making sure that you're really leveraging the full potential of the income generation possibilities in this opportunity. All right, thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time.